Well, it's another day, another PlayStation Store sale to go over. Specifically, I want to take a look at the PlayStation Plus special sale, and as the title of the sale would suggest, you have to be a PlayStation Plus subscriber to take advantage of the sale. I imagine that the majority of you are, but I did just want to note that. Also, we have 9 deals from that sale, and I do want to go over one great deal as a part of the Bandai Namco sale that's still going on. That'll be running until March 5th, and there are a ton of great games on sale as a part of that, but I do want to specifically look at one game at the end. For that sale, you don't have to be a Plus subscriber, so I thought I'd note that. Without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's start off with one of the most underrated games from 2017, Prey, and I want to specifically recommend the Digital Deluxe Edition. That's 50% off for $19.99. So you might think, hey, this is a game from 2017, why is it still $19.99? Well, it did recently have some content released for it. As this is the Digital Deluxe Edition, you get the base Prey game, which has a great single player to it, but you also get Prey Mooncrash and Prey Typhon Hunter. Typhon Hunter was a free piece of an update, and it was an online multiplayer update, a lethal game of hide and seek, and it also includes TranStar VR, an immersive single-player VR-only campaign, so you can check that out if you do have PSVR. Mooncrash, on the other hand, has you fight overwhelming odds to escape a secret TranStar moon space where the enemies you encounter, the hazards you face, the goals you complete, and the loot you collect are different each time you play. Mooncrash is pretty great, and like I said, the base game is high quality. $19.99 for that is a pretty good pickup. Next up, I also want to give a mention to Zone of the Enders, the second runner Mars. This was a little bit of a stealth release back in September of 2018, came right around the time of Marvel's Spider-Man, so obviously Zone of the Enders, the second runner, went a little bit underrated, and it was a remastering of a game that originally released on the PlayStation 2, but this was a game that was actually done by Hideo Kojima. Yes, Kojima is most known for Metal Gear, but he also did the mecha series Zone of the Enders, and the story is a little bit zany in these games, but the gameplay is so good, the presentation is solid, and the remaster on the PlayStation 4 looks great, running at 4K, so that's great as well. We don't see a lot of great mecha games anymore. The Gundam games aren't really anything to write home about, but Zone of the Enders, the second runner, is a quality game. Maybe at its initial $30 price point, it was a little expensive considering it is a remaster of a PS2 game, but now 50% off for $15, I would say this is a good buy. Next up, we have Just Cause 3 XXL Edition. That is 70% off for $8.99. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I saw Just Cause 4 on sale as well. That's down to $30, but that's a very recent release. Well, if you didn't play any of the Just Cause games on PS4, Just Cause 3 is honestly the better game, and that's surprising to say because Just Cause 3 at its initial release, it had a lot of backlash for its technical problems. Those have been mostly remedied. The issue with Just Cause 4 is from a fundamental gameplay standpoint. That issue isn't persistent in Just Cause 3, but Just Cause 4 really seems like a step backwards, and it being considerably more expensive at $30, that's just not a game you should check out right now. Maybe down the line when it's down to $5, and I think that'll happen sooner rather than later, but for now, if you want a fun open world to get invested into, Just Cause 3 is a pretty fun game. The story in Just Cause isn't anything to write home about, but if you're just looking for high-octane action, Just Cause 3 absolutely has that, and the XXL edition has some extra content, the Air, Land, and Sea expansion pass, and some vehicle and weapon packs. Again, $9 for that is a really good buy. Next up, I do want to give a shout to Shenmue 1 and 2, the collection of that. That's only 30% off, so not a steep discount on this, but this isn't discounted all too often. And considering we are coming up on the release of Shenmue 3 later this year in August, now isn't a bad time to check out Shenmue 1 and 2. Now, the issue is Shenmue is a game that really thrived on its technical brilliance back in the day when it was released on the Dreamcast. Now, in 2019, these games don't hold up as well from a technical standpoint, and even from its gameplay, you'll see that it's quite a bit dated. However, the excellent storytelling is still intact, and it's one of the most iconic games in the history of gaming. Many will say Shenmue 1 was a game that really spelled the end for Sega in the console market just because of how big budget of a game it was at the time, but it's so interesting to go back and play these games, and of course, again, with Shenmue 3 on the horizon, now's a great time to go back and play Shenmue 1 and 2. Moving on from that, I want to recommend a couple of Ubisoft titles that are on sale. I know Ubisoft sometimes gets a lot of flack for putting out the same IPs, whether it be an Assassin's Creed, a Far Cry, but they've done a couple of interesting titles this generation, one of them being Child of Light. That's 70% off for $4.49. It's a very stylish 2D RPG with an emotional story and pretty solid gameplay. You play as the daughter of a duke, and she is transported to Lumeria, identified as the Child of Light and granted the power of light. She takes on the minions of the Dark Queen in her quest to recover the sun, the moon, and the stars to return home. Along the way, she'll discover that her destiny may be far greater than she ever dreamed of. This was a game that I do believe was a PlayStation PlayStation Plus title back in the day, so maybe you got it that way. Otherwise, $4.49 for Child of Light is a really good buy, and I think a lot of you guys will be surprised by the title just on the basis that it is a Ubisoft published release. And following up on that, we have yet another Ubisoft release. Both of these titles actually came out in 2014, and that is Valiant Hearts: The Great War. Valiant Hearts: The Great War tells the story of crossed destinies and broken love in a world torn apart, of people who will try to survive the horror of the trenches following their faithful canline companion. In Valiant Hearts, the lives of all of the characters are drawn together over the course of the game. Friendship, love, sacrifice, and tragedy befall one another as they help each other retain their humanity against the horrors of war. Again, this is a super artistic game, a game that back in 2014, everyone was talking about it back when it was released. It's a game that still some people bring up to this day, and now that it's available for $4.49, again, a game that you have to check out, and another game that might make you appreciate Ubisoft a little bit more as a publisher. Moving on from that, we have The Elder Scrolls Online. It is 50% off for $9.99. Now, it should be noted that this is the base game, not the Somerset edition, but still, ESO is such a great game, and it's a great story in gaming just because we've seen this quite frequently in gaming these days, of games that started out absolutely abysmal, but making significant turnarounds. I point to a Final Fantasy XIV, I point to a No Man's Sky. The Elder Scrolls Online absolutely fits that bill. It started off at a rocky state, but now it's become one of the more compelling MMORPGs. And also not having a monthly subscription, that's great as well. And Bethesda has been super committed to ESO as an experience. I know Bethesda gets a lot of flack right now for Fallout 76, but ESO is completely separate from that. And if you've had interest in it for quite a while, $9.99 to get started with your Elder Scrolls Online experience, I think that is a great buy and a pretty compelling MMORPG to get into. Next up, we have a game that I talked quite a bit about ahead of its release back in August of 2018, and that is Death's Gambit. It is 50% off for $9.99, and Death's Gambit, right away when you look at this game, it's hard not to be a little bit captivated based on its awesome art style. Now, obviously, it's an art style that I'll say is awesome. Maybe for some of you guys, you want more technical brilliance, but I find it such a beautiful game to look at. But what about from a gameplay standpoint? Well, it's a very challenging game. It's a hardcore 2D action platformer with rich RPG elements. You've got challenging boss fights, an expansive world, a variety of different character classes with a lot of customization, and you've got a heroic mode and new game plus, so there is quite a bit of longevity to the game as well. Released at $19.99, now it's 50% off for $9.99. If you like what you see, it's not a perfect game, but there's definitely a lot to like here. Moving on, we have one of 2018's best game, and I don't think that's a hyperbolic statement to make at all, and that is Hollow Knight VOIDHEART Edition. A little bit cheaper. Been keeping track on the pricing of this game a little bit. It is 50% off for $7.49. Prior to this, I believe it was going around the $9.74 range, so now you're getting it a little bit cheaper. Maybe they're celebrating the announcement of Hollow Knight Silksong, an official sequel for the game, which that is looking awesome. But if you've yet to play Hollow Knight, you have to give it a shot. It's an excellent Metroidvania game, another title with an awesome art style, a lot of content, and just the stylization and presentation of this game, it's so unique compared to everything else on the market. We see a lot of Metroidvania games, but I feel like all of them have a distinct look, and with Hollow Knight, it definitely has that going for it. This is the VOIDHEART Edition as well, so it includes the base game and 4 big content packs, expanding the game with all new quests, terrifying boss fights, and striking new abilities. You've got over 150 different enemies in the game, over 40 epic bosses, some awesome music. I can't say enough good things about Hollow Knight, and for $7.49, it is an awesome buy. So those 9 deals I mentioned are all a part of the PlayStation Plus special sale. You gotta be a Plus subscriber to take advantage of those, but I do want to note one great deal as a part of the Bandai Namco publisher sale. You can get this without even being a Plus subscriber, and that is Tales of Berseria. It is 75% off for $14.99. So this game released all the way back in early 2017, another title that has held up in value quite a bit, but $15 for Tales of Berseria is a really good buy. I often say with the Tales of franchise, it's one of the most consistent JRPG franchises, but almost to a fault. And I say that because the majority of the Tales of games, I would say, hit that good threshold, but they don't really break through that great or excellent game threshold. With Tales of Berseria, I really do believe it hits that excellent game threshold. It is a very engaging JRPG and one of the best of this generation. What sets apart the Tales of games from one another is the storytelling and the characters, and with Berseria, it's very strong. You have a very interesting main character that is so different than your typical JRPG main character. She's compelling, and you have a lot of threads to who she is as a character. The rest of the party is also pretty charming and pretty engaging, and the overarching narrative is pretty strong as well. Berseria isn't as long as some of the other Tales of games, like say a Vesperia that just released. That's a great game as well, still a bit expensive, but Berseria is a strong game and I think a great one to get started on with the Tales of franchise. And at $15, it's a great buy. There's a demo available as well if you'd rather check that out first. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, the PlayStation Store seems to be running great sales all the time, and we're always gonna be covering them, making sure you guys get the best deals possible. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.